The WTO, for example, at the far end of this, is not a no deal. The WTO insists that a whole series of things happen when countries are trading with each other. And those rules are ones that are obeyed by the EU and by the UK when we export to places like America and everything. Quite feasible for the government to have their borders absolutely sorted. In fact, already,
by next March, Ian. By next March.
No, listen, let me tell you, it's happening right now. I went and saw HMRC. I saw the man that's responsible, John Thompson, and he categorically told me, he's told the Select Committee, when we leave in March, we will be ready with our borders to do whatever is required of us in terms of checks. And the important point here is that there are two elements to this which is lost in most of this. The first is that under WTO arrangements anyway, you have about a 10-year derogation after a customs union, whatever, breaks up. There is always that capacity for both sides to decide that they can go to zero tariffs without having to ask the rest of the world to do the same. So in other words, you have 10 years in which you can continue with the relationship while you resolve any outstanding issues. So the second thing, the WTO also tells all nations that they are not allowed arbitrarily to block or delay goods travelling into their country. And they've taken a number of countries to court and fined them, such as France, on about 2 occasions, I think, successfully stopping what France used to do, which is forcing all electronic goods to go through one single port. First of all, I don't completely agree with you that this is somehow some Armageddon that's coming down the road, because one way or the other, it's not in the interest of the EU or the UK to have, for the EU, its largest single market inaccessible to it any longer. This idea, by the way, of no flights is such a load of rubbish. It's a signed piece of paper. Open skies is what you agree. Now, if they don't, let's just say for a second the EU didn't agree to do open skies, all right? That means all the routes across the Atlantic are shut to them. They can't fly to New York on the polar routes, on the northern routes, because we control them. Did you know that the CAA, outside of the EU, is the third largest aviation authority in the world? It dwarfs the EU. It controls probably about 70% of the EU's flying. So the idea that somehow it's us that's out begging for a flying deal is absurd. And the idea that the Irish Taoiseach said the other day, I'm going to shut our airports. Do you really? Well, where the hell's he going to fly?